Dick went there.
Yes,
Unbelievable.
yes, that's actually.
And is now OOP, as they say in dog racing, out of picture in terms of the college football championship. There would be almost no way that these committee people, even if they bring back Condoleezza Rice and she accepts a bribe from Jose Sulaiman, there would seem to be no way that you could somehow work Alabama back in the equation. Is there with 2 losses? And possibility that they would have 4 losses on the season. Well, you can't say that because they won those games. And your man Jimbo, what's he on? Like a 9-game losing streak? That's unbelievable. Jimbo Fisher.
I don't know how much they've lost in a row. They have not played well the entire year. And Jimbo, like they're talking, his buyouts like $50 million, and they're considering it. Like that's how bad it is.
Imagine that. $50 million they're going to give this cat to fail.
Go.
Wow. Did we all make some bad career choices? We should have just been failing college football coaches.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
That probably would have been the source of massive derision, right? If you would put that down in your high school yearbook as your ambition. I want to fail as a professional and or college football coach. You're better to fail as a college coach because you don't even have to be that good to begin with. You just have to have the perception that you might be able to be one of these guys that can somehow turn things around and lead a team to the promised land. And then they give you this condition in your contract where it's going to cost them $50 million to buy you out when after 2 years the fan base is screaming, "You suck!" And the alumni are forced to listen eventually because they're looking in the standings there, and you're 1-7 in the SEC. Exactly. All right, welcome to the show, Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie. Lubitz, what a day! What a night! Unbelievable. And there was a song, out that I was, very fond of called "A Day of Change," right? And I thought yesterday might be Lee Michaels was the name of the guy. He had a 2-man band, if you can believe that. He was a keyboard player, and the only other member of the band was a drummer named like Frosty or something like that, which sounds like some guy that should be in a surfing movie. I guess he was. There was a guy named Frosty in a surfing movie. That crazy movie about chasing Mavericks. I don't know if you ever saw that, which is part of the agenda today, actually. I think it's appropriate that I brought that up. Welcome to the show. You have the very intellectual-looking Mike Lubie. They say you look like some nuclear physicist. Is that what it is?
It's interesting that I know him and you didn't. Ken was like, you look like the professor. I look like Robert Oppenheimer. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I would have thought he was a director of some, horror movie or something. But he might have been in real life, right? He was the guy that invented the nuclear bomb. Very nice.
It was called the Oppenheimer Project. He was the head of the thing. Yes.
Well, I thought they were going to drop one on us last night, but it turned out not to be as bad maybe as we had originally perceived it to be. Shows you can't always pay attention to the polls, whether you're talking about the AP and UPI poll, the coaches poll, the college football playoff poll. You can't always pay attention to the polls. The basketball poll, yeah, we got so-and-so number 1, and they lose their first 5 games. This was supposed to be, while they painted Florida, it's like Earl Scheib took a brush and just painted Florida red. For 1995. That's what we got out of that yesterday. Landslide victories for that maniac Ron DeSantis and the useless tool of a human being, Marco Rubio, who has nothing to say, zero. Even in victory, he has nothing to say, nothing of any significance. You might think the same thing about us, but then why are you tuned into the show? We're just here to have a good time and, in general, talk some sports and have some fun using that as a platform. But, wow, wild day yesterday. Get to that in just a second. I wanted to touch on something else first here because we're in South Florida. Mm-hmm. And wind is a 4-letter word today. Wind, W-I-N-D. It is if you're playing a Blue Monster, final round at Doral and you're Freddie Couples, and your ball happens to blow right behind that stupid tree on 18. Unbelievable. While you're watching, everybody in the field just blow by you on 18, just as ugly. Raymond Floyd, I guess, won that tournament. And I don't know. I get on Mayo for being so angry about not getting a Bloody Mary at Houston's. He's told that story like 1,000 times. And the minute you bring it up, it's like Niagara Falls, right? Slowly he turns, step by step. It just triggers anger in this man that he was denied a Bloody Mary at a local restaurant here in South Florida on a Wednesday because they don't make Bloody Marys during the week. which is kind of weird. I mean, I understand, we'd look at that and go, really? I mean, you can't make a stinking drink? You're going to charge me $17 for it. Why don't you just throw a couple of olives in a celery stalk, pour some tomato juice in a glass, and then throw in a shot of vodka? Maybe a little Worcestershire or whatever, spike it up a little bit. I won't even know the difference that you don't have the usual Bloody Mary mix. But, you kind of carry a grudge on something like that. And it's wrong to do this. I mean, it doesn't serve you any purpose to hold a long-term grudge. It's not worth it. But, I do have a grudge against Raymond Floyd for stiffing me on an interview. This has to be like 35, maybe even 40 years ago. Yeah. When was Raymond Floyd playing? I think he was in a playoff with Lee Trevino.
90s. Was he 90s?
Tommy Weisskopf was still wearing a funny little hat back then. And I'm still pissed that the guy blew me off. A young DeForest was sitting there. He won the tournament, Freddie Couples. I had great admiration for him. It's much like my Dusty Baker story, where you're not expecting a guy to be this considerate in a situation where, you're just another reporter bugging a guy for answers or whatever for a little bit of his time. And I do remember Couples, after losing a heartbreaking tournament loss that he had at Doral on the Blue Monster there, he ended up behind that tree on the right. I don't know if you guys are all familiar with that course. The tree on the right on 18. Everybody's worried about the water on the left. But the real enigma there on that hole is the tree on the right, which is... No, because you're trying to dodge the water, so you might, be tempted to hit a little fade, which, I don't know if any of us amateur golfers could attempt a little fade. Every now and then you might get lucky and it just happens to happen. But for the most part, it was just like a wild banana slice would lead you to this point. Now, you had to hit the ball pretty far to be stuck behind this tree, but Freddie was back there. He ends up with a bogey. Raymond Floyd blows by him. I'm supposed to get the winner of the tournament because we are the flagship station, I guess, at that time for the tournament. Sponsored, paid money to be there. WIOD was a prominent radio station at the time, and the number one station for just about all things, talk, news, sports. And sure enough, I mean, the guy that's representing Raymond Floyd, a local guy, he lives down here. And he looks at me and he says, Raymond doesn't believe in talk radio.
I don't know what that means.
Well, fuck him then. I mean, then we won't talk to him. But Freddie Couples came very graciously, sat down with me for like a half hour. It's not good to hold a grudge, is it, Louie? I don't think it does any good. There may be valid reasons for it, but let it go, people. Just let it go. Now, I was ready to let go of my American citizenship yesterday. I really thought that was coming to an end. But I wanted to get on this first because wind is a 4-letter word. Okay. And we are facing this, what is this one? Nora? What's the name of the hurricane here?
Oh, I thought. Nicole,
right? Yeah. Nicole, yeah. All right. And it's no laughing matter. Wherever it makes landfall, it's going to hit as a Category 1 hurricane, which, isn't the worst of conditions here in Florida. We're kind of sort of in a position to withstand that, would you say? I mean, still bad stuff can happen, right? Stuff is blowing around and damage is going to be done. Maybe some roofs, power losses. I mean, a lot of shit can happen with a Category 1 hurricane, depending on how it hits and what the nature of it is.
Yes.
Not sure exactly what this thing is comprised of. It sort of formulated very quickly. And then before you know it, we were looking at, wait a minute, isn't hurricane season over? I thought it was over. I know, here, insert joke, right? You can hear everybody thinking out there in our audience, because I'm sort of used to the fact that you guys are very much in step with us, maybe even a couple of steps ahead of us here on the show. But hurricane season is supposed to be over, and you can hear everybody saying, it is for Mario Cristobal.
Oh, no.
I don't know if Tony would agree. He's going to join us later on. How is Tony going to paint a rosy picture about this latest debacle with FSU? We've probably beaten that subject into the ground by the time we got to Wednesday, but nonetheless, we'd have to give Tony his platform to go ahead and comment on that. Somehow, will Tony be able to convince you and me, Lubie, that everything's going to be okay by next year?
No.
That this Radakovich guy is going to turn things around from the athletic department? I'm stunned. Because when you bring in better people in a position of leadership, as in the coaching staff, you would expect more tangible, better results than what you were getting. You would not expect the team to be completely detached from anything that you ever associated with the program before in the past.
Yes.
But getting back to this wind thing and the hurricane, I mean, we got Hurricane Nicole, so it's going to hit, and it looks like South Florida, for the most part, is going to dodge the major portion of this bullet.
Yeah.
We're on the south side of the storm. Mayo went into an extensive explanation of this on the lunchbox yesterday, about a half hour into it.
Barometric pressure. And
Oh, my God. It's like, Mike, okay, it's going to miss us, and the wind down here is not going to be so bad.
that's
Now, what do you have for breakfast? That's what we want to know, right? Not that anybody shouldn't be able to comment on virtually everything, but I don't know. I mean, we're so used to these hurricane reports that when it's sort of, a non-factor, and I don't know, it's a non-factor, but a minor factor here is schools are already closed.
yeah.
Everything is shut down. I just got a notice here, tennis courts closed all day. I understand that because the wind's going to be whipping and it's hard to keep the clay going. But in general, I don't know. Is it an overreaction? Somewhat. I mean, you never know. Look, we should have learned a lesson a long time ago from Andrew, and certainly from Hurricane Ian. You can never take anything completely for granted in this area. Could jog down to the south. Next thing you know, everybody's telling you it's going to hit Fort Pierce, which is 90 miles north of here.
Yeah, I mean, it's not
All
far.
right. Originally, it was Palm Beach. I don't know that you really want to, go out and plan a picnic on a day like today.
No.
It's understandable.
I don't think you need to run scared. I think it's in the middle somewhere.
I don't know. You know what? I have to say this. I kind of dig, like, before and the storm actually hits. I mean, the weird atmosphere. I was doing my walk of life yesterday on a couple of bum knees, by the way, which I don't know. This stuff I'm taking, you think it's ruining my knees? This glucosamine. Have you heard of it? Glucosamine. Supposed to be real good. A friend of mine turned me on to it a couple of weeks ago. I felt great for a week, and then last couple of weeks, I'm a cripple. I'm walking like Walter Brennan, man, back in the days of the real McCoys. I mean, just shuffling like verbal Kent.
Oh my
But
God.
I went out attempting it yesterday, and the changes that happen in the build up to a storm, even though it's relatively calm out like it was yesterday, all of a sudden you get hit with a little waft of rain. It cools off for a second. Sun comes out. Wind coming. It's sort of pleasant. I don't know. It's a little bit different than the usual day where you just go out into a scorching hot sun and feel 100% humidity. It's a little bit of a change, right? It's almost like our change of seasons to have the preliminaries before a hurricane hits.
Mhm.
But I mean, and is this a byproduct of old age, Lubie? What do you think? Do you lose your nerve as you get older? Now, you would think it would be just the opposite.
It's the opposite.
Like you really wouldn't give a flying one because you've lived a good life. I mean, if I died today, I lived a good life. I can't complain about anything. If my life was compromised in any way, it was only because of my own anxieties and phobias and whatever inner problems. But you are the only one really blocking yourself. I mean, I believe that to a certain extent to be true. I mean, there are some people that are born into such dire circumstances that they probably don't have an equal shot. If they're able to overcome all of that, fantastic. I mean, you really have to give them added respect because they weren't necessarily in a situation where it was all equal footing. You and I, Lubie, have lived a pretty privileged life, right? We knew we were, going to get a good education, going to go to college, going to have all kinds of opportunities.
Yes.
What you do with them, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
But I mean, for most of my life, I was really, really into body surfing. I was never very good at standing up on a surfboard. I couldn't do that. I crashed the very first couple of times, and I just said, forget about this. I have no ability at balance sports. But living on Long Island there and going to Jones Beach, you had significant waves coming in on a lot of the days, and they were great for wave riding. And there was a certain element of risk. A good friend of mine was paralyzed in a wave riding accident. You know who saved him? Adam Schefter. A guy named Alan Brown. He was one of the original, members there on the board that started 790, and he's been in public relations for a long time. And he does a lot of great work, charitable work for people that have been handicapped and paralyzed. But he was paralyzed in a body surfing accident because the waves would throw you around. These weren't 100-foot waves like you see in Chasing Mavericks. But, you're talking, what, 7, 8, 10-footers, I guess, and they would come in pretty frequently. And we loved it, man. We'd go running into the surf there, and you couldn't wait to catch one. Every now and then, you'd get jostled around, and, if you hit your neck on a rock or something that was down there, bad things can happen. Now, in general, I have no daredevil instincts whatsoever, Lubie. Yeah. I don't even like riding on a Ferris wheel. I passed on riding on the Ferris wheel in Las Vegas because it's just not for me. I don't know. I don't like crazy roller coasters. I've been on them.
I hate roller coasters. Believe me, I'm with you. Ferris wheel. Yeah. I mean, I'll do the Ferris wheel. But I hate
Ferris wheel. I mean, how wimpy do you have to be to not want to go on the Ferris wheel? But it's not my thing. I don't want to be swinging in the wind there. Forget about it. Zip lining. I'm not into any. Forget it. I don't want any of that.
I don't judge.
As close as I came to being any kind of daredevil was, and you remember that machine I had, that Yami XL 1000?
Yeah.
That blue wave runner? You couldn't fall off that if you tried. I mean, you'd really have to be a nutbag to have an accident on that thing, although as dangerous as people are out there on the local waterways, some schmuck could compromise your life. But by and large, I bought that thing because it was completely safe by comparison to other wave runners that I had. And I'm just not into the whole daredevil thing. I don't mind like the whole thrill of being able to go 70 miles an hour on the water. That's great. But give me something that's as steady, I would say, as a ship. But then again, there was the Titanic. But yeah. I mean, you understand what I'm saying, right? If I'm going to do something like that, I want to be in the safest possible circumstances. Whereas, and one of the problems with Florida is, and I used to love riding waves even when I lived in California. I used to go to this place called 1,000 Steps Beach in Laguna Beach, California, where you had to walk down like 1,000 steps to get to the beach. And part of the reason was because it was in a cove where there was a cliff that kind of jutted out into the water, and it would cause a reaction where as the waves were coming in, they also would then subsequently meet with the tide going out, and you would get like a giant wave that you could ride. And, it was a lot of fun, except the water in California is freaking freezing all the time. I didn't even notice it at the time because I didn't care. I just wanted to get out there and ride waves. Now, one of the disappointments of coming to Florida is there really are no waves to ever ride. If you ever catch a ride, you see these guys with surfboards and they're sitting out there and they get up and they ride for like 2 seconds. It's very lame, is it not? But when the storms come up, everybody gets out there. They have their surfboard. And you're thinking, Jersey Kyle was one of these guys. Hey, great, man, let's go to the beach today. And, we're going to ride waves all day. Which these aren't necessarily waves that are formulated where it's any good at all for body surfing. No. You're lucky if you can go a couple of feet. Once in a while, you catch a ride, and that's it. But very, very, very rare. So I've always been into it. And yet, here, as we get this storm coverage to start the day, everybody's at a beach somewhere. They've sent every reporter out to, some pier, and they're showing shots of the water. And literally, it looks like a lake.
Well, that's my favorite is when they do it, and then there's nothing. Nothing. Last storm when you saw, what the hell's his name? The guy that everyone was like, well, if he's in your city, you're screwed.
Oh, yeah. The guy from the Weather Channel.
The Weather Channel.
Jim something.
Jim.
Starts with an S.
They went crazy the last time. Like literally he's sideways holding onto the fucking pole. It was like, dude, we know it's a hurricane. You can take him out of the goddamn storm. Supposedly that was his idea. Okay.
Cantor. Jim Cantor. Yeah. Starts with a C, like I said.
Exactly. SC.
One of our people on the chat line. No, Andy came up with that.
Well. So, Ken, that's Ken. And then that's Andy Man. But that's one thing. But my favorite is when they're like, it's crazy out here. Like someone's riding a bike. It's like an old woman on a bike. A guy's walking his dog. They wave. Yeah.
It's nuts. But I don't know. Do you lose your nerve? I mean, my original instinct would be, oh, good. We're going to have like a hurricane. It's not going to hit us, but it's going to, churn up the surf a little bit. Let's go ride some waves today. No desire whatsoever to get out there.
No.
But even if you had the desire, if you look at the coverage while they're trying to panic you into thinking that you're really in dire straits, I mean, with apologies to Mark Knopfler, a fine guitarist and respected by other guitar players. A lot of people would say maybe Knopfler wasn't the best. Very, very good. A lot of people like him, right? We are the Sultans of Swing. Did a lot of great songs there, Dire Straits. But, you're thinking, wow, today would be the day to get out there. And then they show you the news people, and literally the ocean is dead flat. Dead flat. You can't even find a ripple in there. It's crazy. You might find a bottle ripple floating in from some guy that thought that he was going to go out there and do some surfing. But other than that, nothing. So let's hope that works out okay. But I've lost my nerve anyway. My instinct would not be to go running to the beach today, even though it's right across the street, and try to body surf a couple of waves, because immediately you get the other people on the other side that are, the radical Republicans that are saying, watch out for the undertow. which I don't even think the undertow is all that significant here in Florida, is it? I mean, they always talk about it, but I don't know. Are people really getting dragged out to sea here in Florida?
It's if you can swim well, you'll be fine. It's just those some
Yeah.
people who struggle at swimming. That's a different story.
Don't
right?
go in the ocean if you can't swim.
Well, that's a whole nother thing. Yes.
There you go. Take some lessons. Do something. It's like the Rodney Dangerfield thing, right? Where he says, "Here, take some lessons," to whoever it was that was playing. As he was attending one of the events there in what was that? Caddyshack, I think so. All right. Yesterday, a day of high anxiety for me. I figured it was over for this country. We knew that Florida was going up in smoke there. And look, if you voted Republican and you love Ron DeSantis, good. Whatever. You can have your opinion, and that's fine. I actually was out last night. I mean, the most flaming right-wing Republican is the guy that runs this West Side Blues band, a guy named John Yurt. And if you see his posts on social media, you're like, what the hell is this guy thinking? But a good guy. And see, I believe this, that, music is the universal language. And since I know this guy mostly through music and a lot of the good things that he's done in that regard, I don't care that he's a flaming right-wing Republican. I never bring it up. If, I don't even bring up words that rhyme with Trump. I wouldn't even say, hey, if we were snorting cocaine, I wouldn't even ask him for a bump because it would get him going talking about Trump. Bump, right? Not that we're doing that, but I was briefly in hog heaven last night because I had everything working. I had a great band. You remember a guy named Joel Da Silva? He came to the studio.
Yes. He talks to him all the time on Facebook.
He loves you, by the way.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
Yeah, he wants to get into doing this music show. I brought it up. Of course, we haven't made any moves on that since I brought it up a year ago. Obviously. But, you can only handle so many things at a time here while you're struggling. Anyway, he was the featured guy last night with this West Side Blues band. They always bring in some really good players, and he was very, very happy to hear that you were doing well, Mike Lubitz. And he wanted to find the show. He was a big fan of the show. He couldn't believe we got whacked by the radio station. I said, look, that's the status of the industry at a time, and think about this for a second. How stupid are the people that are running a lot of these organizations, whether it's the country, or in this case, a massive business that was highly profitable for years and years and years and years and years. And it went the corporate way. Mm-hmm. Now, if you were battling other means of entertainment and you had this great platform like radio is, where it literally is theater of the mind. See, now this is cool because you guys can see us and it makes it more personal and personable at both at the same time, no? Because now you get to know Louis. You could see that wherever he's living, there's a lot of schmutz there he has to cover up. And you could tell me I got my sporting background here with my boxing, but you get a little insight into the person. I don't know. Does it help people to see the person? Because there's also a lot to be said for not being. I mean, it was a nice part of being like physically anonymous.
Yeah.
In radio.
Yep.
It was good. Now, you had certain guidelines. I mean, there were parameters in terms of the language you could use or whatever. And naturally, you had to capitulate to the sensitivities of the radio station, which didn't necessarily want you going off. They would tell you, listen, you have to push the envelope right to the edge. And then as soon as you did, you would get a bunch of scathing memos saying, if you ever do that again, you're fired. It's like, so which is it, man? I mean, talk about a mixed signal.
That's the best.
It was like playing for Adam Gase or something. I mean, what's the message here? You want me to throw the ball? You want me to eat it every time? Well, what do you want me to do?
Exactly.
I'll just take a big bite out of the ball whenever there's a pass rush at him. Don't worry, I'll never throw another pick. But anyway, you would think that the industry would have battled back. Like, where is the creative thinking? Where is the will to succeed? Where, if you were sitting there and you were running a radio station and you saw this infusion of new platforms where, okay, we're going to have to compete with the internet, with social media, with all of this other stuff. Why wouldn't you just say to yourself, well, let's get really, really good at what we do?
Yes.
Instead of watering it down and having everything sound the same, why wouldn't you get even more creative? I mean, think about what you could have done with this whole election process if you were an all-news radio station. And yet you'll sit there. I bet if you turned on WIOD today here in town or any other news station that you might listen to in other cities, very much Jack Webb School of Journalism, right? Yes. Just give me the facts.
Straight
well,
legs.
So-and-so lost the race by 22 votes here. I mean, I want people, that can go off on this stuff. Like we had yesterday on our podcast. Well, no, he was on the show yesterday. Billy Corbin.
Right here. Yep.
right? I mean, why wouldn't you get a bunch of people like that? And maybe get somebody else that can refute a lot of the things that he was saying, or make a good argument against it, and have people going off and exchange creative ideas and make it a heck of a lot of fun.
Yep.
I would think that a station, if they ever did that, would have just unbelievable, overwhelming success. Maybe I'm wrong. Do people just want to be neutered? Did they want to be trained to think a certain way and not hear anything different? Is that what do you think?
In the state, yeah.
But if nobody tries anything, then how would you know that wasn't going to work? That's my point.
You're talking to the wrong person. I mean, that's why my wife was happy we came here, because radio is like Florida. Like, they want to go back to the 1850s. Like, they just want.
They didn't want to fight back. They didn't want to do anything. Yeah.
Simple, sterile. It's like, no, okay. People don't need to go to entertainment for that.
They're exactly right. You could go to sleep and be just as entertained.
Exactly. I don't know. I mean, it's very interesting the way the world works and the avenues we've gone. And last night at least gave me a little bit of hope that we haven't gone all off the fucking deep end.
Wow. I mean, the reports, they were not favorable. I went and voted. I wanted to just walk out on A1A and get hit by a car. I really did. Mayo thought I was going to get killed on my way to the voting place. Which
my favorite is this idea, and this is literally the out of the fascism. And I don't care what way you vote, but the fascism third world book. If we win, things are fine. That's literally how Putin runs his country. If we win, the election was good.
Yeah.
If we lose, the election was rigged, so we still won. That's not
who's rigging these elections, by the way.
No one. It's counted the same way. It's counted the same way whether your side wins or loses. They've actually gone out of their way. Mayo talked about this yesterday. Because of 2000, when the Republicans were running shit, they went out of the way to make shit standardized and stable. So I don't know what to tell you. Now you can't go the other way. Oh shit, we did a good job. How do we bitch about cheating? Like, it wasn't cheating. It's not cheating. It's standard.
The amazing thing, Lubie, and the staggering thing is the number of people that actually buy it. Which, I mean, I thought that this was going to turn the country's political structure to a flaming red that we would never be able to overcome. And it would just be a stepping stone for the Trumpster to come right back in here in 2024. And really, do we need another dose of this? Honestly. Every day was a clown show. By the way, and she's out of the running now to be. She doesn't have to be the Dolphins PR director anymore. Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
I know, that's.
Remember
crazy.
when we thought she would be ideal because, the Dolphins would lose like 37-3, and she would say, "What do you mean we didn't lose? Huh? What are you talking about? You guys really need to look at your business model." By the way, I saw some of the numbers there. You're swimming in a sea of red ink. You may have to fire some of your reporters, including you, Joe. But she won the governorship of Arkansas. Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Can you believe that? Now, was her father governor of Arkansas before?
Mike Huckabee.
Yeah. Mike Huckabee, yeah.
Yeah.
He was governor of Arkansas, right? So she followed in his footsteps. He was
actually in the middle of the road compared to his daughter. That's what's funny. Huckabee at the time seemed far right, but he actually wasn't that far right compared to his daughter.
All right, so she's not going into sports anytime soon.
Oh, no. She's got a gig now.
And she won in a runaway, in Arkansas. So I don't know what they're doing over there. I mean, what's in that burgoo that they're eating? Is it dead squirrel causes the brain to sort of warp out? I don't know. I don't want to condemn any of these Southern hillbilly politics, situations because we're victimized by them now ourselves, I believe. We are now the Deep South.
Yes. Oh, no, we're worse. I mean, Georgia, which is what I consider the Deep South, is at least in runoffs and having a black woman sort of had a shot for a little bit. Like Florida.
Yeah. Rubio crushed Val Demings and DeSantis. I mean, oh, God. Has he been emboldened to be an even bigger nutbag than he's been the past couple of years since he first came in? Who was he before, anyway, Ron DeSantis? I didn't know anything about him when he was running for governor. And, here he is. I mean, wow, to see him carry on yesterday, that was a little bit frightening. But there is hope because it looks like the Democrats at least are going to maintain whatever level of control they had over the Senate. So the Republicans won't be able to ramrod a bunch of negativity through, like, denying women the right to have an abortion and cutting Social Security and all of this other stuff that they were talking about. Not every person is going to have an AK-47, I would think, anytime soon. There is hope. At least there was some faint hope for America, and all of the rhetoric before was that Alabama was going to win the national title, right? And here they are with 2 losses, and Nick Saban is face down in the gutter somewhere in Tuscaloosa, thinking, why did I replace the Bear? What did I want to do that for?
I don't think he's thinking that.
But I had the best of all worlds going last night. I wanted to mention. So I'm watching like live music with your man Joel De Silva.
Nice.
He was great.
He's great.
John Yurt, right wing. Practically wearing a Trump shirt. Fine. Plays in mean guitar and has done a great thing over there at the Tipperary pub. We're having a good time. On one screen in the back is Mountaineer live racing, and on the other screen are election results coming in.
Nice.
So, we had it all going at the same time. It was great. But I stayed up pretty late watching election results. I don't know about you. Finally fell out about 2 o'clock this morning and couldn't take it anymore.
Wow, good for you. I went to bed at like 11 because we have to be up at 5 or 4:30. But
Yeah.
I was positive the results. Look, I mean, both sides can take away something. If you're in the state of Florida, you want 1850. So good for you. The rest of the country.
Do we even have railways yet? Did Henry Flagler put some tracks down?
The funny thing is I've always been how I've been and voted how I voted, but there wasn't like this big fight. And my problem is the taking of words and rearranging them so that you can make them bad. The word woke is not a bad word. It's become a 4-letter word. It's not. Like the word woke means we want equality. That's all we want. Like we know it's not going to happen.
Aren't you supposed to represent all people too? I mean, you get elected.
Idea.
All right, so 6 out of 10 people voted for DeSantis. So does that mean he doesn't represent the other 4 of those 10? Like, has no regard for whatever their ideas are or their ideologies are, their theories are about how things should be? I mean, do you just completely some of these races were airtight also, like that Warnock Herschel Walker thing, which I find incredible because how anybody could vote for Herschel Walker, whether you were a diehard Republican, I don't even care if you're like Ivanka Trump. How could you possibly vote for this guy?
His own son was like, he shouldn't be in the race. His own son
said,
this is sad.
This guy's an asshole. He basically said, my father's an asshole.
But I don't even care about the asshole part. It's sad. Like, look, Rick Scott's an asshole. Rubio's an asshole. Marjorie Taylor Greene's an asshole. My problem is Herschel Walker. It's sad. Like the dude, he can't put it, and I'm not making fun of him. Like Ken said something earlier here that I laughed at, but it's sort of mean because he has CTE. Like if anyone is because again, they can't check for CTE until you've passed. If anyone is a living case of that dude has CTE, it's freaking Herschel Walker. Like he can't put a sentence together. He's openly, he's lying. He said he was in the CIA, the FBI. It's like, dude, we know you were. Like,
he probably believes that. Yes,
that's my problem. Is he's not being a criminal. He really
delusional.
Is lost. Like, and it's sad. It actually is sad. That's my whole thing with it. It's like, dude.
Hey, look at this charlatan Memonaz, man. I mean, an airtight race going against Fetterman. And look, even if Fetterman's recovering from a stroke, certainly, he was a far more appealing candidate than Mehmet Oz could be. A charlatan came in after living in New Jersey his whole life, and all of a sudden he's Mr. Pennsylvania, right? Hasn't even had a cheesesteak. And, he's going to represent Pennsylvania in the United States Senate, which I used to think was a pretty sanctimonious place. Didn't you, Lubie? I had high regard. I mean, even if there were senators that I didn't care for, it was like, wow, you're like one of 100 guys representing this country in the United States Senate. I thought it was a great distinction. And now, like any slimeball can end up becoming a U.S. senator, including Mehmet Oz, who only lost by like percentage point in the race in Pennsylvania. But fortunately, I mean, this guy suffers a stroke. Is there ever a good time to suffer a stroke? No.
No.
But right in the midst of a campaign that I thought he was winning by a much larger margin.
It wasn't going to be close. He would have annihilated Oz. Like they didn't want to vote for Oz. And then he had a stroke. And then they had that debate where it was that one time about sad. He couldn't get words out.
Yes.
Like he had, unlike Walker, who literally has mental issues and you're not coming back from that. You can come back from a stroke. But
sure.
Rehab and it takes time. He had just had the fucking stroke like a month ago, and they're having him do a debate, and it was mean. Like, what about this? And he's like, like it wasn't funny.
He's kind of like me the other day when I had to give somebody my former zip code, and I couldn't remember it. And you're sitting there on the phone going, it's 33, and then you start shouting out wrong numbers. And the guy's telling me I was trying to get a document from Social Security. He says, I can't send this out until you, come up with this old zip code. And just to I don't know if I want to make an ugly situation, and depict it graphically here, but you know how you're on hold for a long time, and then you decide, you know what, I'm just going to keep the thing on the speaker, and I ended up going to the bathroom, right?
Mhm.
So I'm taking a dump, and of course, in the middle of that, the guy answers
I'm back
after an
obviously.
hour.
Yeah, you know that's one that's coming.
And you're standing there with your pants dangling around your ankles there, and now he says, "Hey, what was your zip code at your old address?" And I'm like, "I don't remember. I really don't.
Right now out of nowhere. Sir, I
I
don't know.
couldn't think of it. It was like blanking." So now I've got to decide. I mean, I don't know if this guy's going to hang on for a minute. While I don't even have time to wipe my ass. It was an ugly scene, and I had to pop out to the computer here and just pop on the old zip code. I don't know. Is there something wrong? Should I feel badly that I don't remember my old zip code?
No.
I don't remember old phone numbers or anything like that.
Forget the randomest shit sometimes, especially when you've been waiting for like 50 minutes and you forget that you're on hold and you're like in the show, you're like, oh shit.
It literally was, oh shit. But what do? Do you tell the guy, hey, I'm taking a dump right now. Can you wait a minute while I wipe my ass?
I'd come up with some zip code so we can go look for it, and then maybe that'll give me time to find my zip code, because they don't just kick you off if you get it wrong. You can be like, oh, okay, well, what about?
Well, I told the guy, I mean, I was a senior citizen here, obviously collecting Social Security, and he probably is used to the fact that people don't even remember their name, much less. Well, I mean, I did answer all of the security questions without any problem, so you would have thought that would have been enough, but I couldn't come up with the zip code, and a very awkward moment here as I'm standing over the computer trying to look this up while I was obviously in need of nurse. I've had an accident. Anyway, I mean, the country didn't go down last night. In my opinion, anyway. Some people would argue that we're dead wrong about this, which is fine. I mean, it's okay. If you have another opinion,
you're allowed to have the opinion.
It's not like we don't respect your opinion. You're not necessarily an asshole because you believe this, although you would really have to consider yourself somewhat suspect. If you're voting for a guy that, I mean, by a 60-40 margin, this guy who should be up on criminal charges for the misappropriation of state funds.
They never got it. That's the thing that the Republicans are good at, is if you do anything, they could have done 15 things wrong.
It doesn't matter, yeah.
One wrong, they're going to hammer you on the one thing. Like, he had done enough where you could have hammered him this whole time, but that one thing was illegal. Like, it had nothing to do with his state.
Right.
States that weren't
spent $600,000 that could have gone to poor people, whatever.
For it.
Unbelievable, man. Unbelievable. All right. Hey, we say hello to our good friend Eric Brandon, which is fantastic. We got to get Eric to expand his fishing show onto South Florida Live. No, wouldn't that be a big hit here? Does a great job with that thing. Been doing it for
a video. What? You could have
16 years.
When you go out to Bouncer Smith, you can actually see him on the goddamn boat reeling in
a fish. Yeah, I mean, they could be hooking a live marlin.
What's the guy you like? What's Richard Stanzik? You go out to
Stanzik. No, they had a falling out, Eric and Stanzik, unfortunately.
So then Bouncer Smith. You go to Bouncer Smith, and he's like yelling to the guy, and they're like fighting the marlin.
Yeah.
Great.
No. Push harder. You the only guy that caught a fish when we were out deep sea fishing. You snagged a barracuda. Remember that? You caught him like in the back. That was it.
Oh yeah.
One day we waited like 4 hours for PC's uncle to come.
It was barracuda. Yeah, it was the one that you don't eat. It was like annoying.
That was it. That was 4 hours at sea. That's the tough part about fishing, is getting skunked. All right, we have a lot to do on the show. Tony's going to join us. We'll go old school with Tony Segreto. I don't know what more there is to say about the University of Miami situation. I'm not even sure if it's that interesting to people anymore. What do you think, Libby?
Well,
you're not a giant UM guy. I have a strong affinity for the University of Miami. I haven't been associated with the program for many years. Now, that was many years ago, so some of that feeling has dissipated. And but I always saw what was going on somewhat objectively. I may not always have wanted to portray it that way. I mean, it wasn't easy to ask Butch Davis, on the coaches show while the athletic director, Paul D, was waiting to come on the program, and there was nothing but diehard Hurricane fans at a Tony Roma's somewhere, and you're going to ask Butch, hey, did you have anything to do with that kid that pushed the guy off the balcony? And what about these 16 other arrests? I mean, so I understand, that there are certain circumstances where you may sort of ignore things that otherwise would be, very, very much foremost on the minds of people to discuss with a coach. But that being said, I mean, it's not like, I mean, I have a strong affinity for the program. I would love to see them turn the thing around. I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime, and I see no evidence of it happening right now. Zero. I understand Mario Cristobal has only. Didn't Jimbo Fisher have #1 recruiting classes like 3-4 years in a row at Texas A&M every year?
Yeah, one.
It was a big debate.
But he's had every class has been top 10, and he's had a few in the top 8. He had one #1, and that's right now. And again, the recruits this year usually don't take shape right away, but you don't want to have the #1 class and then go 3 and 7. Like that's not that's not a good thing. No.
Well, and this is the other thing that I've believed this my whole life. When people always debate whether a coach or a manager is really worth anything. Obviously, in football, a head coach can make a big difference depending on whether or not you have the right one. And there are a few guys that really are difference makers. But if you really want the measuring stick, the barometer of a good coach or a coaching staff or a manager, it's that old thing that we used to discuss with Pat Riley. It's what do you do when you don't have all of the goods?
Yep.
Are you able to take a bunch of schleppers, or I mean, in that case, it was NBA bag ladies essentially that Riley took to 50 wins with the Miami Heat, and we've asked him about it. I don't know if he was just being gratuitous to us at the time. I don't think so. He's not that type of guy. He would have told us we were dead wrong if he thought that our theory was misguided. But we asked him many times if if he thought that was his best coaching season, and he said, "Yeah, I didn't have much to work with there." Right? You had Anthony Mason was like
they had
in the post
team, but they had lost Zoe. Zoe was like an MVP candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? The kidney thing? Or was it liver?
They were doing it with mirrors. Are you kidding me?
It was their focal point, and then he has that. So you have Mason, who's not an offensive guy. Brian Grant, who's not an offensive guy. Hardaway, who's old, and now you lost your offensive centerpiece, and then they still were the #1.
And they won 50 games, which is a nice number in the NBA. And I thought, wow, okay, here's a coach that's done incredible things. The Showtime Lakers took the Knicks into a championship. The Knicks fans are only pissed at him because he left, not because they didn't like Pat Riley. And came down here with the Miami Heat, a franchise that was sort of floundering a little bit, and immediately they became relevant and have stayed that way ever since. But what did he do when he didn't have the goods as a head coach? He succeeded. Much like, I mean, a lot of people like to rip Pete Carroll. You have to have, even if the team doesn't win another game this year, well, what he's done with the Seahawks and Geno Smith is a remarkable testament to a guy that actually knows how to coach.
They got to the roster.
Must have something.
They gutted the roster. Bobby Wagner, who was a staple there, gone. Russell Wilson, who was the franchise, gone. Like they gutted the roster, and they're better. That's crazy.
It's nuts. They're playing an exciting brand of football with Geno Smith, a guy. I mean, you couldn't be a bigger cast-off, right?
Yep.
Than Geno Smith was. People, if you didn't know he was in the league anymore, it wouldn't be like you were an ignoramus and had no business talking about football. I mean, where the hell was Geno Smith? Did we know he was going to be the starter for the Seattle Seahawks this year?
No.
Yeah, I mean, just an excellent job. So, and that's my problem with this whole thing with the Hurricane coaching staff or even Jimbo, right? I mean, if you're a really good coach and you don't necessarily have like the greatest players, you should be able to do better with them. I mean, you should be able to manufacture a couple of surprise wins or whatever, like these guys do at Appalachian State and some of these other schools.
Yes.
I'm seeing none of that, with this team. I'm shocked at how poorly they're performing, including in a rivalry game where, I mean, you shouldn't have to really be any great motivator to get a Hurricane football team up to play Florida State, should you? Right? I mean, there's an inherent rivalry there that was always talked about where, well, these kids have been playing against each other since Pop Warner. They want to knock the snot out of each other. And there's an element of truth to that probably, but it wasn't in evidence when you watch the way that the Hurricanes performed against Florida State, which was also a team on the come, and they came several times right in the face of the Hurricanes.
All over the Canes. I was talking to the professor about it yesterday. I don't know if it was yesterday or last week, even before this game. It was the idea is it's year one, fine, but there was talk of them contending for the Coastal. I mean, look at Carolina. Yeah, Drake may turn out to be a legit quarterback, but no one had ever heard of him before this year. And the rest of Carolina sucks. Like their defense is a disaster. Their offense is solid, but it's mostly the quarterback. And they're gonna win the Coastal. So why couldn't the Canes have done that? Like that's the idea. Is no,
or just play well. I mean, look good even in losing. Well, whatever.
Get better. That's my problem. Is
Yeah.
like Diaz did a lot of dumb shit, and they ended games weird at times, but they fought for him, and it looked like they were trying. Like they gave up in this game. Like I was nervous because I'm me, but when you take a step back and watch that game, once you got, what was it, 21-3 or something?
It was over at the start.
It was just done.
It really was.
Why? Like, what is going on? Like
Norvell goes for that bomb early on. I mean, obviously had picked up something, and they're up 7-0, and then you thought, all right, let's see what the Hurricanes' response was, and so many times this year, no response whatsoever. So I'm not seeing it. I don't know. I don't think there's a good explanation for it. I would tend to be, look, I'm not one to say, hey, fire a coach after 2 games or whatever. And I don't know that, Mario Cristobal obviously is not in any jeopardy of getting canned anytime soon. But and maybe next year he comes out here and runs the table. Well, one can only hope. But if you're a Hurricane fan, but what we're seeing is zero progress. In fact, a regression of the way that the guys on the roster now are playing. Now, he's had ample time to weed out whoever it is he thinks is inferior and can't measure up. And you would think he would have a bunch of guys out there that were hustling and, making up for maybe what they lacked in overall talent by just being a well-coached, organized team. And you're seeing none of that in play right now. And that would be the scary part for me. Anyway, we'll get Tony's thoughts on that and many other things. We're happy today to say that that Earl Shine paint job that they did on Florida, the whole country didn't go red, which was good. And that Carrie Lake out in Arizona, I think she lost the gubernatorial bid.
Yes, got
rocked. Was another slap in the face to these wild election-denying, MAGA Republicans. Trump was out there stumping for him. And the Trumpster's going to announce his candidacy, I guess, next week?
We'll see. He didn't
What's that going to do?
Well, I mean, we'll see, because every single candidate, except maybe 1 or 2, that he was all in on got annihilated. Republicans won. Republicans did okay. Not because they want to be okay. It was Republicans that distanced themselves from Trump. All the ones that embraced Trump, for the most part, did not do well yesterday. So
I was very encouraged. Young people apparently made a big difference in this voting.
Yeah, because they're the only ones.
And we're voting from a perspective of, let's evaluate the situation here based on the individuals and what they have to say, instead of just blanketly, going ahead and filling out, everything Republican. I voted for. I noticed this, and it was probably very irresponsible of me and hypocritical of me also, because I didn't bother to take the time to research any of the judges that we voted on. And I always vote for the complete overthrow of the Florida Supreme Court. Like every judge that's on there, if they're up for any kind of, continuation of their term, I vote them out. I'm figuring they're going to be, so right-wing and fascist in their opinions. I don't even follow this stuff, but it was probably wrong, because all of them retained their position. Did you see that, Lubie? Every single one of them. Got a favorable result there, and by a wide margin. So I was way off on that. And I feel badly about it, because I knew nothing about any of the people. Zero. Probably should have left that blank, but I figured, let me just get rid of all of these guys and start from scratch. That would be the best way to go. All right, we're coming back with more. Hialeah Park. Wow, you never have to worry about a vote going there. Hialeah Park, just a beautiful place, and the votes are all positive, because people are winning money, number one, in the casino, the Vegas-style casino that has all your Vegas-style games that you absolutely adore. I'm going to be up in Atlantic City next week. Lubie, you're going to be taking over the reins here? You're going to be...
I was told.
Sitting in? I mean, it's like we're taking the feet pink guy off and putting the shoe on, right?
Yeah.
No problem here. We got Lubie drafting in behind me. But, yeah, and you know what? The casinos there are fine, but they don't have that same vibe that you get at Hialeah Park, where you got that Latin music playing on the weekends. It's fantastic. Getting closer and closer to Friday and Saturday when they're open till 5 a.m. Jackpots galore being struck there. Steve Calabro wouldn't have it any other way. He's just absolutely amazing. The fact that Calabro, as in calibrate, is sort of in his, it would be like the Italian pronunciation of calibrate. Calabro, he knows how to calibrate those machines so that you have a chance to win. It's fantastic. Big jackpots being paid out. Guys are constantly sitting there with call attendance sign up, getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 900, 1,000, 2 dimes. It's great. And then you're seeing giant jackpots of 50, 60, 70,000 being taken down as a matter of routine. Poker room is extremely well run. It's absolutely the most professional poker room you'll find anywhere in the state and maybe even in the country. And the Champion simulcasting room is unparalleled as a simulcasting facility. So you're going to love that as well. Great food and drink all over the place. Always entertaining. Very, very safe. They redid the parking lot out there. I mean, you like that at a casino, right? Where they have bright lights in the parking lot and massive amounts of spaces. So you don't have to park 8 miles away there. And by the time you get to the casino, you're like, water, water. And then they slap you with a fee for $2. Get a player's card, though, when you come through the door. They don't mess with any of that at Hialeah Park. It couldn't be any more favorable for the patrons there, and they aim to please. Boxing coming up as well, and that's going to be in February, so a lot of special events. Larry Little golf tournament. Are you going to come down for the dinner? I think it's like early December.
Yeah, I'm down.
That's a good one, yeah. Should get down there, say hello to everybody at Hialeah Park, and going to be a lot of fun. So they're always doing charitable things, always doing a lot of good things, and get that player's card entitles you to all kinds of rewards, rich rewards that you get as a member of the players' card program there at Hialeah Park. And if you have like the Mustang does, some double diamond, thing that actually has like neon on it. I mean, it's amazing. This card, you pull it out of your wallet and it glows, and you trade that in and you have that status right there with them. I mean, they immediately accord you any status that you've achieved at any other gaming facility, which is a nice thing, a nice consideration. You're not starting from scratch. It's great. Hialeah Park, a tremendous place. We love it. I know Tony loves Hialeah Park. You're a big fan of going down there, and I can't wait to get down there for the Larry Little banquet, and then, of course, the boxing coming up in February. That's going to be a blast. You'll love it, too. Check it out online at HialeahPark.com. Their Facebook page also at Hialeah Park gives you a lot of good information and insight into what's happening there. And better still, clear your social calendar and plan a visit to beautiful Hialeah Park. All right, we're coming back with more. Tony Segreto going to join us. Ed Garcia also on board. He has to be happy today, huh? Remember, Tony was riding him pretty hard, like he was body surfing a little bit. Yeah, about Michigan's awful schedule to begin the season.
Well, they struggle with Rutgers. I was about to text him and go, "What's going on, bud?" And then
wasn't that one of Mark Lawrence's plays, Rutgers, this week? Yeah,
they were leading, I think, at half, and then in the second half, I look back. I'm like, "Oh, 20."
Okay, that happens though, because I'm not a big proponent of the look ahead game. Because I believe, when you were a kid and you went out to play your best every time, didn't you?
Oh, yeah.
You didn't go, oh, well, geez, we have Ohio State in 3 weeks. Let's go and tank one against Rutgers. No, you wanted to go out there and beat the snot out of Rutgers, didn't you? I'm not sure I ever bought into that theory about the look-ahead game, which people put an amazing amount of faith in, where, you play like a big game, and then the next week you have like kind of a crummy, low-end opponent, the team that's last in the standings there in your conference, and then you're coming back and playing like an LSU or something, and everybody's like, well, they were ever going to have a, slip-up. There it was. But I don't know. Is that really applicable to young people? I mean, when you went out to play, even recreationally, didn't you just go out there to play your eyeballs out no matter what?
Yeah. I mean, I did. I don't know. I mean, when it comes to these organized teams, a lot of intangible crap we throw out there doesn't equate to when I grew up, when I played my game.
Yeah. I was more than happy to see a patsy in front of me. I really was. Fatten up the stats, have a nice, good time, smoke a little weed before the game, just enjoy, hey, look at the rotation on that ball, man. It's fantastic. Because you knew you were going to win. But, and that was always a favorable circumstance. I never, thought that the trap game was really all that relevant. Although, when you look at it historically, statistically, maybe there is some truth to it. What do you think, Lubie? We should ask Mark Lawrence about that, the old trap game.
Yes.
So I never really bought that theory too much. Maybe it's real. I don't know how you people feel about it, but I always thought when I was 19, 20 years old, I just wanted to go out there and, show off. That was it. And I would imagine most athletes feel the same way. And, you're happy to have kind of a weak opponent because it makes it even easier. So I'm not sure I buy that, but Rutgers, look, Greg Schiano's a good defensive coach. They haven't been great. I mean, it's like they don't really belong in the Big Ten. But Mark Lawrence told us he had all kinds of statistics to back that up, that they were going to be competitive in that game. for some reason. I mean, he had a lot of things to justify it. Anyway, what did they win by Michigan?
Michigan, wow, that's crazy. They still covered. Rutgers was winning at half, and Michigan still covered.
Still covered? Wow, and it was like 26 points or something.
26, yeah, they covered.
So we lost that game with our pick?
Still lost.
Oh, my God. Wow. That's one of those things where, that makes a degenerate, go seek therapy because you are dead right, absolutely spot on, and then you end up a loser anyway. It's such ugliness. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment here in this red state of Florida. Jeff DeForest and Mike Lubitz, a wipeout there.
It's like bloodshot.
In the senatorial and gubernatorial races.
Like bloodshot.
Wow. I mean, they just mop the floor with these people. Energizing this lunatic fringe that we call the far right. It's going to be real interesting what happens from here on out. This guy will be shipping immigrants to Afghanistan or something. I mean, just picking them up in Texas.
Well, that's the thing. It's like when a kid, you test the limits, right? And then if you do get away with something, it's no holds barred. Like, I mean, it was a thumbs up to go.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about the magnitude of this, and what's happening in America. I mean, as I've said, if you look at it, virtually everybody that was close to Donald Trump or one of the important people in his whole, surrounding of, advisors and whatever. Every one of them is either up on charges or went to prison already. He pardoned like half of them.
Yes.
Roger Stone and all of these guys. If he was in office, I'm sure Steve Bannon wouldn't be serving any time. But almost at least a half a dozen of these guys were sentenced to long prison terms. And, he pardoned a bunch of them. He's got 18 different investigations going, of different criminal variety. And when he announces he's going to run for president, he'll be the favorite again. It's amazing. We'll be given 3.5 with Joe Biden. All right, or getting 3.5. If Biden, I don't know, is Biden going to run again? What do you think?
I'm hoping not, but I mean, at this point, I don't know. It seems to be as much.
The only Democrat that seems to have a national presence, although it's just beginning to, I guess, kind of germinate, is that Gavin Newsom out of California.
The problem is
good looking cat.
The problem is people like Ken who are more moderate. He's very left. And at this point, I don't mind them going. I mean, the Republicans don't mind going right. So if you're a Democrat, I guess going left's okay. But I don't think the country runs well that way. I'm openly honest about that. That's the funny thing about. I don't mind some Republicans winning. I don't mind it being split down the middle because, when we see when a game happens and both sides bitch about the ref, that means they probably did a good job. like that's my thing. Like when everyone's like, "Oh my God, the country's a disaster." No, the country's probably doing well. You just are a spoiled brat and want your way all the time, and that's not how this works. We have 300 million people. Not everyone can have their way all the time. So I don't. I'd rather be down the middle. The problem is there is no middle right now. Like the right has gone so far right that if you're down the middle, you're now actually leaning right, and that's not great. The way the right is.
All right. Well, we survived it. It looks like we did.
So far, we'll see. You never know. I mean, we're here.
Tony was saying he was praying that America wouldn't go into the shitter last night. And I actually texted him back. I said, I don't think prayers are going to be enough here.
Well, maybe prayers worked for once. Thoughts and prayers finally worked.
I'm going to give Tony credit, man. He might have been onto something. All right. Now we're coming back. Tony Segreto going to join us. Iconic sportscaster here in South Florida. And, of course, was a top-notch newsman as well, so equipped to talk about virtually everything. And we love Tony. He's a great guy. And every now and then, it's good to talk to somebody that has maybe a more rosy picture. He thinks I'm overwhelmingly cynical, which is far from the truth, Lubie. I'm as optimistic a person as you could possibly run into. I don't know. You may know that. I'm always thinking that, something good is going to happen or trying to see the good in things. It's just that in certain situations, you just look and you say, my God, what really transpired here? You know what I like too? Sepp Blatter. I meant to mention this. Sepp Blatter, the FIFA guy, was up on criminal charges. How did he get acquitted, by the way? Sepp Blatter. He and this other guy that was working with him when they awarded in 2000. I didn't realize this was that long ago. Was it in 2000 that they awarded, or 2010, they awarded the 2022 World Cup to Qatar? 2010. I think it goes back like that far.
2010,
not even further.
It was that clip we play was right after it happened. Like it wasn't years later. So
yeah,
doing a show already together, and
I want to say 2010.
I have to look it up because I feel like Young Chris was a part of that. And Young Chris, I don't think was there in 2010.
Oh, yeah?
So I have to look it up. But yeah, I mean, it's a while ago. It's a decade at least. I mean, for sure.
Sepp, who I don't know how much cash was involved there, but
Come on.
he is now saying that it was a mistake.
Oh, really?
They should have awarded the the game, the World Cup to the United States.
I mean, thousands of people died. Like I'm not mocking. Like I'm being honest. Like
yeah.
Haven't they done multiple documentaries before it's happened?
They don't talk about that much. Yeah. I don't see that in the promo on Fox.
No.
All I see is like Neymar heading a ball into the net. And Giselle Bundchen, with her Brazil shirt on. All right, coming back with Tony here. It's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants and also Catholic Health Services, two great organizations. Saw more stuff. I mean, somebody was actually open a debate. There's a local restaurant here that's been around for 70 years, and it's an outstanding place called Tropical Acres. It's a steakhouse that also has, a great economy in terms of, the pricing compared to other high-end steakhouses.
Yeah.
And somebody offered up the comparison, like, which do you prefer, Texas Roadhouse, which I don't know if it's a fair comparison.
No, they're not the same.
To Tropical Acres. But once again, it was universal.
That's funny.
While a lot of people like Tropical Acres, as they should.
They're just different.
Well, I mean, it's not the same thing, but their complaint about their only complaint about Texas Roadhouse was it's always jammed.
Oh, that's the thing.
And there's a reason why it's always jammed, because it's great.
Exactly.
I meant to forward that to Tony so he could send that to Ed Garcia, because I know Ed digs it. That's on Let's Eat South Florida.
You should join the
92,000 strong.
I love it. It's like an infomercial for Texas Roadhouse. Like anytime,
it really is.
There's nothing. It's like this country right now. We can't agree on anything. Any place is brought up. You can bring up like Jackson's, which is like a staple in South Florida.
Yeah.
And someone will go, oh my God, it's too much ice cream. Like someone always complains. Texas Roadhouse is the one thing when it's brought up. It's like,
nobody ever has a negative comment.
It's so weird.
But I mean, you're talking about a place that's charging, what, $25 for a steak?
No less.
Compared to a steakhouse where even with the extremely reasonable prices at Tropical Acres, you're still in another category in terms of price. That's the amazing thing, that there would even be a comparison of, Texas Roadhouse to any, top-notch, top-level steakhouse. Fantastic. And a debate was on there. I mean, a lot of people came to the right conclusion, which is they're both excellent at what they do. But if you were looking to, not get a $400 tab for your family when you went out to have a steak dinner and everybody was totally satisfied with what they had, Texas Roadhouse is the way to go. All right, and Catholic Health Services, I can't say enough good things about them. Remember when Tony tends to, sort of, obviously one of the great things about him is he concentrates on the good. But, and he was talking in platitudes about Catholic Health Services, and I wasn't that familiar with him until they got involved with the care of my mother. And literally everything this man says, it's amazing that he might be understating how wonderful this organization is. So Tony's coming up, first-class guy, 2 first-class organizations representing him as we go old school with Tony Segreto in a moment. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:04.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto, brought to you by Catholic Health Services, and Texas Roadhouse.
Welcome back to the show on this fine Wednesday. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubitz, the intellectual one, and wow, I mean, Tony, maybe I'm missing something.
You are, man. You are.
I might have lived a meaningless life as a result of just what we saw last night, where you were on your knees in prayer that we wouldn't get the broad brush, the Earl Scheib paint job like we did in Florida there and go all red, hopefully in watercolor. And yeah, you said it might work, and I would have to say your prayers might have been answered, Tony.
We have to clarify the text you originally sent me, which is, are you ready to have what was it? Something like, are you ready to set back our country 100 years?
I didn't even think that was far enough back. Honestly, I was trying to figure out where would we begin, man?
Yeah,
like 1776.
I'll tell you what.
Where we go.
All I know is my hero is Steve Kornacki. That man is freaking amazing. He is absolutely remarkable. A remarkable guy. I don't know if you watched.
Did he get the pants from Jim Harbaugh?
He was. He that's his staple, man. Yeah. He set the standard. Harbaugh followed him, man.
You think?
He is,
I don't know. Harbaugh was wearing those khakis for a long time.
Yeah, Harbaugh's Kornacki's the guy.
All right,
he's the guy. Yeah.
So you ended up like I did, feeling it's kind of like when the pain eases off.
I slept better than I thought I would. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
I slept better than I thought I would, and remarkable here too in Vermont. I mean, it's funny because
isn't that a Democratic state though? I mean, you would think
very
liberal thinking people.
The governor is Republican, but not a hardline. He's criticized. He's criticized the past administration pretty hard, and they love him here. He really does for the right thing. Yeah, it's very, very liberal state. I mean, cannabis was just approved to be. They've just opened up like 10 cannabis stores.
Yeah, for kindergartners.
Yeah. They just opened up like 10 stores for recreational use, and it is very liberal, very artsy.
You're not growing any weed back there?
I'm sure it's somewhere on my property. I'm sure someone has planted it. I have not.
I would have thrown a few seeds out there if I stopped by. Probably it comes out pretty good too, huh? I mean, I don't know. Is the climate conducive to growing marijuana there in the woods?
I think marijuana can grow anywhere, from what I gather.
Thank goodness for that, Tony. I would have to say
it doesn't matter. But anyway, I slept very well last night. I may have to do with I got my booster, so I don't know. Put together, yeah.
For the flu or COVID-19.
I was going to do both and was recommended not to do both, so I just got the bivalent, the COVID extra booster, and then 2 weeks from now I'll get the flu.
All right, sounds good. All right, you're looking good, kid. Well, what have you been up to?
Feel great. Yeah. Up to about 5'11" this morning when I got up. I could play like point guard.
Very good.
Life was good. I had a pretty good weekend in terms of my wagers. I thought
who'd you have? Who were you involved with? Were you all over Florida State?
I didn't touch that game. My daughter and I had a bet, and I actually paid.
Where are you going to be taking her for dinner?
No, well, actually, she knows.
Texas Roadhouse, of course.
So she knows I'm coming to New York this weekend for her birthday. She doesn't know that her brother's going to surprise her and that her mother's going to surprise her, and we're all going to be there in New York. But she and I found this. We're both peanut butter lovers, and she and I found this peanut butter that we absolutely love, and you can only get it online. You can't find it in the stores anywhere, or at least this style.
Yeah, what's it called?
It's the RX bar that you can buy in the stores, the RX protein bar. That company that company makes different flavored peanut butters. And anyway, we bet that the winner would receive a couple of jars from the loser. Well, I wound up sending her the jars as soon as the game was over, and she actually got them the next day. And
good.
Yeah. So we
unlike those checks I mail you, where they
come those checks
a year later. Very nice.
Exactly. So, but I'll tell you what a fun weekend to watch football. It was just, it was fun to watch Nick Saban go absolutely bonkers on the sideline.
Sounds great.
I give Brian Kelly's. Brian Kelly's the Mississippi Gambler, man. He's got balls, and
that took some balls. I mean,
it's
justifiable in a lot of ways. But if he loses, See now, Dr. Tom Osborne to this day still will never be. You won't hear derisive comments about his attempt to go for two there in that championship game. That's all the way back to 1984, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about, was that January 1st, 1984?
Yep.
Kenny Calhoun deflected away, and you were in the booth that day, right? Were you working with Sonny?
Yeah,
as a color analyst?
Yeah, for the 20th time. I swear to God, you been hitting the head a lot?
Well, obviously, I was involved in that game also.
Yeah, I did the game. Sonny and I did the game. We did all those games, and it was remarkable. In fact, I told you the story.
But when Sonny was screaming, deflected away, where were you? I mean, you let him have his moment there, which was good, Tony.
Next to him, because usually I go down about 15 minutes, about 12 minutes before the game is over.
To the sideline.
Yeah, the sideline. But he said, no, hang here. And so I did, and he had his moment, man. It was great. It was great, and
the surge of that comeback, though, I mean, it was overwhelming. And then you would have to say, if momentum was on anybody's side there to go for two, it would have been Nebraska. And you were assuming, oh, geez, man, after this brilliant effort, they're going to win this thing. But Osborne was never, I mean, derided for going for two there. Everybody respected him. And it came on a day, remember, where Pat Dye had a chance with Auburn to win the national championship, and he opted for a tie. And everybody called him Pat Tie Dye after that because they thought he was a gutless wimp by not going for the win.
They did, but here's the difference between Osborne and Kelly. Kelly's always been a gambler. Kelly has always that's his DNA. That's he lives and dies by that sword, and he's died by that sword a lot and taken a lot of heat and a lot of criticism. Tom Osborne wasn't known for that. Tom Osborne was a very conservative guy. So for him to step out of that comfort zone. In that
and he wins the title if he wins the title.
Yeah. Right. But I thought his explanation after the game was brilliant for both what Brian Kelly did and for what Osborne did. What Osborne said was, my boys deserved the championship, and I didn't want them to settle for a tie. They worked hard for that. And Brian said, I just thought we were done. He was going, I thought my guys were done. I didn't know if we could go any further. And I figured if we're going to strike and we're going to win this is when we're going to have to do it. And I have a play that they haven't seen yet. So, and of all people, Jason Taylor's son. How about that?
Yeah.
So,
wow.
I just thought that was
that was not an easy play. I mean,
it was not an easy play.
It was a tough pass to complete and a tough catch to make.
I don't know what's going to happen from here on in. I think what everybody's concerned about is everybody's curious to see what LSU does this week. Everybody's curious to see what Tennessee does this week. A team who got, absolutely, kicked out of the stadium by Georgia, and how LSU is coming off this amazing win.
People have LSU in the picture if they win the rest.
Yeah, I think it'll be curious to see if they can get that. I mean, they're certainly in a good post position for that, because a lot's going to happen yet. We have the SEC championship game. We have to see. I think Georgia's going to be in the playoffs, plain simple, even if they lose the SEC championship. But I mean, you've got you still have Michigan, Ohio State to go. And,
if that's a close game and the two teams are like 2 and 3,
that makes
and it's decided by a couple of points, and it doesn't matter who wins. I think both teams will be deserving there of going to the postseason. Would you not?
I think the biggest debate right now is Oregon may be playing the best football of anybody in college football right now. And Bo Nix may be the Heisman Trophy winner the way he's playing.
You're not the first person to say that on this show.
And they can't, and the people still can't get that demolishing by Georgia out of their head. But again, I go back to when Miami won in '84. If you're going to lose early. And if you recall, Bernie Kosar's first start, they lost at Florida, and Miami looked horrible in that game.
Yeah, was that game here or was that on?
No, it was in Gainesville.
Okay,
and they come back and they have
they lost like 31-3 or something.
Yeah, and then they come back in a very close game, another tipped pass, another flick pass away.
East Carolina nearly beat them.
East Carolina. So I mean, they didn't have the perfect season everybody thought they did, but they just came on when they had to, and then all the dominoes for them in '84 fell in place when Auburn lost and all the other teams started to fall by the wayside. So now it opens up the door. Let's see what happens. We still have all of November to go through. I realize there's only 3 weeks, but that's a long enough time with teams playing each other now to make up some ground, and let's see where teams get up. See if the Pac-12 can be even considered. But I'll tell you what,
you're gonna have Oregon, maybe USC to decide. If
USC's got a tough road now. I mean, they still have Notre Dame to play.
Don't they play UCLA also?
They play UCLA. And people were talking about that too after watching Notre Dame just win big.
Notre Dame improved a lot. This is another one of those things I wanted to get into with you, Tony.
Yeah.
About it applies to UM here, and you've been painting a very rosy picture. Don't worry about this; it's all going to be okay. But I believe this. I noticed Marcus Freeman, who comes in. I mean, it looked like he was going to go all Jerry Faust first couple of games. Notre Dame looked horrible and very, very suspect, and you weren't even sure if they were going to be an above 500 team.
Yeah.
But they've gotten better. I mean, they've gotten significantly better. Their last 2 wins were impressive. They really were. And so you're thinking, okay, during the course of the season, with all of these practices and all of the time in the film room and the coaches sleeping in the offices, whatever, somehow the coaching staff has gotten the team to improve from within. They didn't get any transfers during the season. They didn't recruit anybody. Any 5-star, recruits didn't come in and join the team all of a sudden. Same guys that were getting stooped, whatever you want to say, early on are now playing very well and beating significant teams. I mean, teams that are ranked. So, that's not happening here. I mean, we're going backwards, the University of Miami. I say we, but I mean,
No, we is right. We is right.
We go back to this thing. I mean, you even longer than I do, but I mean, when I got here in '82, football was the thing. I was happy to be associated with it. I really was.
I'm still happy to be associated with it. I'm still very proud, and I think I truly believe this. I'm not being Pollyanna here. They're going to get it together. Will it be this year? I don't know. I really don't know. They're looking for the tea leaves. They're looking for what works. In Notre Dame's case, I think that consider they lose their starting quarterback. They lose 3 of their wide receivers. They're stumbling and bumbling. They're trying to figure out who they are. Is Drew Pine going to throw the ball like Tyler Buckner? Is Drew Pine going to be the guy? And then all of a sudden they have this, this epiphany. Like, we've got these big old offensive linemen. We've got these 3 running backs. Our identity is going to be smash mouth. We're just going to line up and we're going to do what we do, what we believe we can do better than anybody else right now. And let the chips fall where they may. Well, the chips have been falling in their favor so far, and they've just been, knocking people off the ball. Let's see if it continues, and if they can do it enough to make Drew Pine, Bob Greasy, then so be it. And that's the way it'll be. But Miami, I mean, listen, Ja'Cory Brown could wind up starting. I think Mario's a little bit reluctant to take Tyler out because, he's had injuries and he's a starting quarterback. But, maybe it's time. Maybe it's time that we start looking around and looking to see where we're going. Who's going to give us the best opportunity to win? And one thing I'm not going to do is question what he does, because they know a heck of a lot better than we do. We can sit back here and question to ourselves, but you hope that those tea leaves come back out to be positive for Miami.
Did you ever aspire to be a failed head coach? Because I would want to rethink my entire life if I went back and they asked you, like in your high school yearbook, your ambition. Mine would be now to be a failed college football coach.
People always ask me, if I didn't do what I did, what would I have done? And I always say I would have.
I think you would have been a catcher for the Yankees.
I would have been a coach.
You want to fail. You want to be good enough to get the job and then be horrendous, because
you
paid the same money regardless. And now you can go on to other ventures.
Imagine.
Listen, when you're competitive, I don't care who you are. You want to win, man. You just want to win. So I just, listen, these guys are under a lot of pressure, a lot of heat from between fans and parents and board of trustees and listen, all the money in the world does not take away the internal will to win and be the best at what you can be. Listen, you saw firsthand how much money does Nick Saban leave. Does he need any more money? What is Geico paying him, for goodness sake?
Imagine that to do those dumb commercials.
And you see him on the sideline, him just absolutely losing it. I mean, he was just.
We always use Nick as an example.
It was like I wanted to replay that like 20 times.
I always think of you when I see Nick going ape there.
It was great. It was just. It was.
You would credit him with being all about the kids.
It was great, man. He was not about the kid. He was in their damn face. Gosh, he was all.
It's a good lesson for the young man.
Yeah.
All right, now here's a guy that's always teaching us a good lesson, and that's how to do good business. And we were mentioning this earlier. First of all, Tony, do you want to give another apology to Ed Garcia for questioning the integrity of the Michigan Wolverines schedule?
I am not going to question the integrity of the early season schedule because it was bad. But I do say, how great is it that they're in? I actually thought, Ed, to be honest with you, and welcome, I actually thought Michigan should be number 2. I really did. Not that it matters much, but I really thought it was going to be Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State. I really did. But regardless, you're in the 4. Now you got to maintain that, and then you got a big game coming up. What, in 2 weeks? Is in 2 weeks the Ohio State game? Well, welcome. You got your khakis on today?
I got my khakis. I'm wearing my. It's Wednesday, so I wear green, but I'm wearing the Dolphins green today. Okay. So I'm looking forward. I'll be at the game on Sunday. I don't know if anybody will be there, but I will be there at 9 a.m. sharp, cooking away. So you got to come try out my game day queso.
Oh, goodness me. What about, and tell us about what's going on in your world with Michigan.
Well, just super excited that, I'll tell you, it's been interesting. The first half, this last game versus the Rutgers was the first time Michigan this year was losing at halftime. And it's amazing how the team comes back out of that tunnel and then scores 28 unanswered points in that third quarter and just turns the game around like that. And, it seems like it's been a tradition, and I personally, I want to see them come out of the gate like that in the first quarter. And Ohio State has struggled too, but I want them both to stay undefeated. You don't hear me say very often, I don't want to see Ohio State lose, but I don't want to see them lose till the game. And we all know what the game is coming up. So I think it's going to be a really exciting matchup at the Horseshoe, and be a lot of fun. And I think that's going to really dictate. Who's going to be in that Final Four. And gosh, what are they going to do? If it's a tight game, do they stay in the Final Four again? Last year with Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah, we were talking about that. We were talking about that. Now, let me ask you a question, because I have not looked. Is this going to be a night game, Ohio State, Michigan? Or is it going to be a noon start?
Probably a noon start. I think they're going to announce it probably this week, but I'm not 100% sure. So it's at Ohio State, and the last time I went there, it was just a little too intense for me. I need to be in front of my big screen with my bottle of Wellers. The Wellers keeps me nice and calm. So
yeah. It keeps me
free, but it keeps me a little calm.
Yeah. I wish we could find Wellers up here. We can't find Wellers up here. So I think I have like this much left that I save for a cold day, which is like, it's 23 degrees today. So today would be the perfect day to have it.
Every day in Vermont, I feel like might be a cold day.
Not every day. So listen, Jeff was talking about, all these people around here now. I mean, we have really picked up steam with people talking about Texas Roadhouse, and we're going to take this little show is going to take this much credit for that, but Texas Roadhouse is rolling along. We have people now, and Jeff, maybe you can do a better job than I can with comparing it to another Story Steakhouse in town.
Yeah, this was great. I mean, it's one of our favorite places. Also, been around 73 years. Tropical Acres, owned by the Studiali family. They do a tremendous job. Have an impeccable reputation in the restaurant business, and unlike some really high-end steakhouses, that they have an extremely high-quality product, great presentation and service, and their prices are, maybe 60% of what you would pay in like a Ruth's Chris or some other place, Smith and Walensky. So somebody posted on this Let's Eat South Florida site, which has 92,000 followers on Facebook, and I'm going to send you an invitation to be on there. I don't know if you're on there, Ed, but you really should be. And they said, how would you compare Tropical Acres to Texas Roadhouse? And overwhelming, again, the response was that Texas Roadhouse is just the greatest place. The only complaint, the only negative that anybody had about Texas Roadhouse was the old Yogi Berra thing. Nobody goes there anymore. It's too crowded. But they were even complimentary about the way that they handled that. And you're thinking, well, wait a minute. Somebody else had posted a thing about another place that we like, La Spada's Hoagies, and said, well, there's a line of 25 people waiting. Is it worth the wait? And the question answers itself. There's a reason that people are going there. And Texas Roadhouse, again, just rave reviews from this food site where people tend to be cynical and highly critical, as you know, on social media. So congratulations on that.
Appreciate that. It's really, a shout out to the team and the people. I think that's the difference. We in football and all sports, you look for that competitive edge, and it boils down to one thing, and it's the people and it's the passion. I'm very blessed to have, these owner operators that go in and hire the best, that want to go out there and take care of people and make sure those hand cut steaks are absolutely cut perfectly on top of, that season and sear when they put that up on the grill and put those diamonds on there. I mean, that, cooking the steak, whether it has railroad tracks or no marks or anything like that, but to get those perfect diamonds on there, when they're cooking 200 steaks an hour, I mean, that just tells you like someone really cares about their job and wants to provide an awesome guest experience. And it just makes the steak taste that much better. So blessed on that part, and, love hearing, what the people say. And, it does get pretty crazy busy on the weekends. I know for sure. And good news is we're expanding a couple restaurants. I just in Miami, we redid the dining room. And because we haven't been approved by the city yet to make the building bigger, which Coconut Creek, Port St. Lucie, and West Palm have all made the buildings bigger, which is kind of cool. But we reconfigured the dining room and then created more seats so we can take care of more people. And you'll see a lot more of that coming in 2023.
What is it that you do so well when it comes to the wait, even though it looks long, is not that long? And I know if people can use the app and show up on the app, but for people waiting outside, even though, they may say 20 minutes, what is it that you do? Is it the way that everybody works together? Is there a secret sauce that you use to get everybody in and out pretty quickly without making them feel rushed?
I think it's number one, the environment when you walk in, and you can get an ice cold beer and a huge margarita and a fishbowl. I mean, that makes the wait, obviously a little bit less.
Yeah. But, what time is it? I forgot. When did we put the order in? I forgot.
The mobile app, as well, so you can put your name on the mobile app. You can call ahead, and that cuts down the time. I mean, I'll be honest, we have an hour and a half wait, sometimes 2 hours on the weekends. We're getting back into season here in South Florida, and that's a long time. But if you can call and put it on home and you get there 20, 30 minutes before your wait time, it's not too bad. We keep the lobbies nice and clear. And then you have you get excited because you have that fresh baked bread, which, here's a fun fact. We have a vent that goes over the ovens for the bread shoots outside, so we can get you a little excited as you get.
No way.
Yeah. I mean, that's my man, Ken Taylor. He was super smart with that. I mean, you can't go wrong.
Brilliant.
So, but you got that fresh baked bread getting you all excited. And I think that just helps speed it up. But, again, it comes back to the people. We run multiple hosts. When you walk into Texas Roadhouse, think about sometimes the other restaurant, you normally may see only one person, but on the weekends, we got 7 or 8, and it's clockwork. We have someone in the dining room, and they're going to be like, hey, Tony, the guy in that New York hat, he's about to get up right now. So the busser is standing over there waiting. They're like hovering, okay? They're ready to block and tackle, and they jump in, and as soon as you get up, they're cleaning that table, and we're bringing the other table back. So it's about, we want to get you down as fast as possible. That's our goal, and keep that restaurant full. And so that's probably our secret. Besides the mobile app and the call ahead, that works out really well.
That's quite an operation. Ed Garcia, we love you. We love the food. It's a remarkable place. And folks, if you haven't been there, shame on you. And if you have, make sure you go back, because these folks don't just put out good food for you to eat. They're in the community. They're giving back. They're feeding the poor. They're feeding the veterans. What they do is it's remarkable, and they do it every day. They step and repeat. Ed, thank you. We're honored to be a part of your family. We really are.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, guys. Have a great Wednesday.
Thanks,
Always
Ed.
a pleasure. Ed Garcia. That is a nice thing because people have an aversion to chain restaurants. It's kind of like what we always tease Mike Mayo, the gambling gourmet, and of course the guy behind that Let's Eat South Florida, food critic for a long time for the Sun Sentinel, a very versatile guy. He did a lot of different things in the newspaper business. But you'll mention something and he'll immediately make a face like and that's usually what people do when you mention a chain restaurant. They're like make a face. At Texas Roadhouse, wow. You know how the food porn goes on social media, Tony, and every time somebody takes pictures of some of the dishes there, comparable with any fine steakhouse that you would go to. I have a. Do they have one? I meant to ask Ed. I don't know if they have a Texas Roadhouse in Atlantic City. I'm going up there next week on one of those senior freebie junkets.
We can look it up real quick.
Yeah,
and see if they do.
Because I have been accorded a $300 comp through the Mustang slot play at the Gordon Ramsay Steakhouse in the Harris Hotel.
What's that do? Is that going to get you a drink?
Get you dinner for two, basically. I mean, the tab's going to run you two people, probably $2.50 if you order a steak. And I just as soon sell it to somebody for $1.50, and then go to Texas Roadhouse, eat for like $75 for the two of us.
It makes
have even more food, and then have $75 in free play, essentially.
I don't blame you, man.
Can you scalp your comp at a casino?
I can't answer that. You'll have to answer that for me. I don't know.
You'll love this too. I don't know if you're familiar with this joint. I don't know how much time you spent in Atlantic City there, Tony, but you were in the Northeast. Are you familiar with a restaurant called Chef Vola's? Which is
very familiar.
This place is great, man. I mean, it's some of the best food you'll ever have. It might be. I mean, for my money, I don't know. It's one of the best restaurants I've ever been in terms of quality of food, and the prices are actually reasonable. The problem is you can't get in there. Yeah. Like you have to know the governor or something, right? To get a table.
Like it's like Peter Luger. Peter Luger's the same.
Is Luger's like that, where they don't even answer the phone, like for years.
No, just show up, man. Listen, we
if you show up, they tell you to go, take a hike. They'll show you the path to the Atlantic Ocean.
It's crazy. I will tell you this. I don't know about you guys, but I'm gonna end it on this. I tend to have a personality that if I see it enough and if I'm sold enough on it, I want to try it. Right. I think Danny DeVito has been brilliant.
Oh, really? I would never go there.
Jersey Mike's? Oh, my God. See, I would go try it.
Guy looks like, who wants to have some pervert running around? Yeah.
It's talking. It's not talking.
I want to try it now. I want to try it.
Jersey Mike's? Very ordinary compared to other stuff.
Is it ordinary, really? Do you like
Jimmy they're okay. Not
Jimmy John's. I know La Spada stands by itself. I get
it's better than
there are other places, too. I mean, but
if you don't go to La Spada, where do you go?
Jersey Mike.
We were just at a place called Seaside Subs down here. Very good. VNS always gets rave reviews, although on that Let's Eat South Florida, where they're very critical. Now people are complaining the bread's too hard. But, there are a lot of good places. Actually, remember the place? It's kind of weird. I think it's called the Sub Center.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever stop there on your way to a Dolphin game or to Hard Rock Stadium?
I really didn't.
It was on 441 and whatever.
I know exactly where it is. Yeah.
Away. Different approach. There are a lot of good places where you could get hoagies. And Jersey Mike's would be fine, but with these Danny DeVito commercials, it's kind of like, I know Serena never ate. I mean, it might have looked like she ate a few Subway subs before she went out there for those matches at the U.S. Open. But, I mean, she might have been shoveling them in there. But I don't know. Danny DeVito for Jersey Mike's, it doesn't appeal to me at all. Zero. And I like Danny DeVito.
I think I love Danny. I do think he sells it. I think he sells it pretty good.
All right.
Yeah.
See, it shows you. I mean, some people vote Republican, others Democrat.
Exactly. All I know is I slept well last night. Thank you, God. Let's see what happens.
It's not over till it's over, though.
Listen, do we have by the way, do we have a result on Warnock and Walker?
I think that's going to be runoff city. It looks like.
It's what?
It's
a runoff.
Warnock, but it's less than 1% at this point, which could be runoff.
Right, and he doesn't have the 50% because they changed that vote, trying to keep black people oppressed in the state many years ago, and have their votes not count. So they changed the system, so you need 50% plus one vote, and it doesn't look like either candidate. And Warnock was slightly ahead, is going to get that. But the Libertarian guy, which is always, some wacko,
so
he got 2%, and most of those votes they think are going to go to Warnock.
That'll be Warnock. Yeah.
So he'll end up winning.
Well, we know what the recounts do. Look, we had it in Florida, and Gillum ended up being a total disaster. But Gillum didn't gain. Like, the recount doesn't change the lead. Like, the lead is the lead. I mean, outside
but no,
the
runoff.
Of whether,
is going to
regardless of whether you're a Republican or not. What a travesty if Herschel Walker becomes.
Well, no, it's sad. I mean,
it's a travesty. It's an absolute joke. It's an absolute
same
joke.
thing with Mem and Oz. And I mean,
Oz is different. Oz is a flat criminal, like, and a liar. Her Walker, he has CTE.
Well, what do you think Walker is, for goodness sake?
No, Walker has CTE and has been manipulated to run, being a Georgian. Oz is a criminal. Oz is a liar. He doesn't even live it. He has nothing to do with Pennsylvania. Like, nothing. Like, it's freaking weird. Like, at least Hillary Clinton lived in New York for a little bit. Like, Jesus.
He couldn't find Geno's with a GPS device. Mem and Oz. Nor would he be welcome there. They probably just say, hey, go across the street. Pat says the same shit.
I agree.
All right, Tony. Always great. Texas Roadhouse. That is. I always love this because you love to see your friends getting rave reviews.
Yeah, me too.
And wow, Ed Garcia, the great job.
He's a good man. Good man.
It's remarkable to have a restaurant chain essentially, which we've talked about their philosophy many times. It's individually owned and operated, and yet they do things to a very high standard that the company mandates. And so the combination is a perfect mix. And there they are with very reasonable prices on great food that you would pay double and triple. It's Gordon Ramsay, believe me, and Ramsay's not in there in the kitchen yelling at anybody.
Yeah.
When my steak came out badly overcooked, there was nobody to complain to except the server, and they immediately ask you. They would never do this at Texas Roadhouse. Well, why don't you cut it open in the middle there so we can tell? So I can tell you right now, man, this thing tastes like my left shoe. What are you talking about? It's supposed to be rare. Right, all of a sudden,
it was
science
the
experiment.
It was the saddle that the Lone Ranger used on Silver. That's what you're
paying $300 for this if you're unfortunately
I'm sorry,
it's
not worth nothing like $300. Nothing's worth that.
Anyway, Chef Owens, I got a reservation without having to go through the mafia. It's amazing. I didn't have to call any bookies or loan sharks or anybody that was in a position of power in the state. No Christie, and I couldn't believe it. They've changed their policy, I guess, where they actually call people back now. They call for reservations. So happy about that. That's going to be a good one. I'll be thinking about you. I'm going to hoist one in your honor.
Please do. Take a picture.
In Atlantic City.
Yeah, there you go.
I mean, their meals are outstanding. Have you eaten there?
Yeah, I have. When I was very little, I was growing up. My grandmother, God rest her soul, she owned a hotel in Wildwood.
Oh yeah.
So we would go to Atlantic City and Ventnor Avenue and all around there down by the shore, and it just spent a lot of time in Atlantic City.
Atlantic City, I've spent a lot of time there too. Lately on these junkets, but many years doing boxing matches there, and I saw a comedian there, and he painted a perfect portrait of Atlantic City. He says Atlantic City, and it was like November, December, is the only place where you look at the ocean and become depressed.
Yeah.
And it's true, man. When you're there on like a dank, rank, windy, rainy day, and you look out at the ocean there, and the Ferris wheel is shut down, and the pier is closed, and so that's a bunch of bums and seagulls out there, and you look at the ocean, and it's kind of brown, and you're thinking, God, I just want to jump.
It's kind of depressing in the summer, too, quite frankly.
Not bad. No, I don't mind it. I have an affinity for the place. It's a poor man's Las Vegas. It's all right.
Yeah.
All right. Coming back with more with Tony. We have the Dolphins and the pros to discuss and all kinds of other things happening. A lot of other sports have opened up, including college basketball. So many things on the table here with Tony Segreto as we go old school with Tony Segreto on a Defo Show. The intellectual-looking one is Mike Lubie Lubitz. Doesn't he look great with the glasses, Tone?
He looks fabulous, man. He's a handsome guy.
I hate it.
I think it adds an element that, for some reason, would demand a certain dose of respect that Lubie otherwise wasn't commanding in the past. Would you say that that's a fair statement?
I don't know what that.
I saw him when he opened up with this the other day. I was like, wow, who's doing the show now? I didn't remember making the change.
There is a look of intelligence that wasn't there before.
Exactly. You thought he was a bozo before. Why don't you just, he would say something. You go, yeah, you're full of shit, Lubie. I mean, what are you talking about? Although it was right about Florida State and Miami, I believe.
No, let me listen. I'll tell you a quick story.
Yeah.
I had gone to the eye doctor and he said, listen, I really think for you to see, because we were, he knew what I did and knew you had to read a lot. And he said, I think you really should get contact lenses. So he gets me contact lenses and I go to work and this is when I was still young and I was called in to the news director's office. Ralph Rennick was still in power. God rest his soul. I love Ralph, but they were a little persnickety on how they
was
did
old
things.
School, yeah.
And they said to me, "Where's your glasses?" And I said, "I don't need them. I'm my ophthalmologist. I have contact lenses." They said, "Oh no, that's not acceptable. People know you in your glasses." I go, "Well, they're going to have to know me without my glasses now because I don't have to wear my glasses." Yeah. They go, "Well, yeah, you do." I go, "Well, the doctor specifically said this is better for you and you can see and read better." So they go, "Well, then we recommend you getting fake glasses so you can still wear glasses."
Are you kidding me?
No, that's exactly what I said. I said, "Are you kidding me right now?" They said, "No, go out and get glasses just like you were, but with fake lenses." So I did. And I put on these fake glasses and about a week goes by and I go, I am sorry. This is just complete BS here right now. So I come off the set and I take these fake glasses and I throw them in the garbage can. and never heard another word after that. Never went on with them again and never heard another word.
Well, I mean, Lubie does look. I think he looks far more intelligent with the glasses.
Do I look like an idiot normally? Like I don't know.
No, I mean not to say that, but I mean, all of a sudden, there's an air of intellect to you that I don't think was there before in your physical presence. That's all. At least on TV, or on this streaming service. All right, we're going to come back, talk some more sports with Tony Segreto. Old School with Tony Segreto continues in a moment. Now that
The time.
8:42. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
All right, one thing that I love about you, Tony, and we discovered this over time, although it took a while to kind of realize what the heck was really going on there. As distinguished as you are, and as many people as you deal with your various committees that you're on, Orange Ball, this, that, boards of trustees of universities, deep inside, I mean, lurks. I don't know that it's a sick degenerate, but there is a degenerate nature, and nobody loves college football. I believe next to women's softball, college football is really the most passionate sport that you're all about, Tony Segreto. Is that not correct?
I love it. let's say we talk about being the intelligent degenerate. The one who doesn't say it out loud, but
those are mutually exclusive,
like,
my friend.
There
is no intelligent degenerate. If you're a degenerate, you've already shown a lack of intelligence or intellect.
Defo and Lubie love kicking it old school with the legendary Tony Segreto.
All right, one thing that I love. We do love the fact that Tony is at heart a stone degenerate, which is fantastic. But you've done your best to overcome all of this. You really have.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And maybe you can answer this. So how come I can go on Twin Spires no matter where I am? I can be here when I'm here in Vermont, and I can place a bet on the horses anytime I want. So like for the Breeders' Cup, okay?
Sure.
But I can't go on my FanDuel or DraftKings, whatever app, and bet on a game
because of state restrictions.
Well, there's no betting here on horses either. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, really?
I don't know that that's regulated like sports betting is.
Exactly. Yeah. Is horse racing illegal or just doesn't exist? Because sports betting is illegal. It's not just that we don't have it; like it's actually illegal. Like
right. Sports betting had to be approved by various states for
right. Well, I understand
these applications to be used there. That's why the people, I guess they finally did approve it in New York. But remember, people were literally taking a bicycle and going across the George Washington Bridge. Yeah. And as soon as they had one foot in New Jersey, they were sending it in on whatever teams they were betting. And then they would go back right across the bridge and watch the games in New York. But you couldn't bet in New York if you had the app. And so I guess there are still state restrictions, and probably Vermont is under those. But the horse racing was never under any restriction. There might have been a state or two that didn't approve of it, but it was much more rare than sports betting.
Actually, the reason I'm bringing it up is because it's one of the things they're talking about here in Vermont is to legalize wagering online.
Why not?
Yeah, and
people are doing it anyway. You're sending it in regardless. I mean, if
I mean, I can't do it online. I've got to, I got to make a few phone calls to get it in. But it's not like.
Which is why I never answer the phone Saturday morning.
I just decided I don't call you anymore because I know if I win, I'm not going to get the money sent to me anyway. So what's the difference?
That time I almost booked your bet. You nearly hit for 2,400. I mean, that was scary. You know, but you can't bet against the serendipitous luck. If I had found out that you were the guy in California, you went to this gas station in Altadena and bought the $2 billion Powerball ticket, it wouldn't surprise me.
Would you take
of course, it's Tony.
Would you take the lump sum, the $1 billion?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. I'm not going to be around long enough to collect 30 years worth of it anyway, and you can't transfer it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I could probably get by with like $700-800 million. Even if I got robbed by the government on this proposition bet that they lay out there, which obviously is a stupid bet because the odds against hitting it are 292 million to 1.
Yeah.
You don't usually play into those kind of odds when you're betting a football game. You might
listen.
Have to play
I said
140
to my
or
wife,
something.
I never bought. I bought my first Powerball ticket the other day because
you had to have at least a swipe at it.
Yeah, right. I've never bought one. So I just said to the guy, whatever it is, just give it to me. So I laughed with my wife because she buys them all the time. And I said to her, I don't even want, I said, it would be nice to get the $1 billion, but I don't even care if I get it. I just want part of it. I mean, if you give me a couple of 100,000, I'd be more than happy.
The payoffs, the consolation payoffs are also, unfortunately, well out of proportion with what they should be. So, but there were a lot of people that won $1 million for having the 5 numbers and not the Powerball in that sequence.
Yeah.
So I think I don't know, it might have been a really high number, like 40 or 50 people won $1 million because there were so many tickets purchased. I mean, they were selling like a ridiculous amount, like thousands of dollars a minute in virtually every state of these Powerball tickets.
Yeah.
On the one outside chance that you get hit by lightning and boom, there you are. You have billions of dollars.
It was interesting on the Today Show. The Miami reporter who did the story on the Powerball, he was asked if the $2 billion, if it's all funded by tickets, and it is. It really is. It's like
they don't put any money in the pool. It's all sucker money.
It's all money that put up by the people who want to wager. So we'll see how long it takes to get back up if they ever get that back up to that level. That
seems periodic. Level. I mean, the fact that it doesn't get hit with all the tickets purchased for 3-4 months at a crack when they're drawing 3 times a
and
week.
then for the power to go out, the
Yeah.
other day. Oh my goodness gracious! Like on top of everything else, it was like, holy, can we have any more drama with this?
We have since smoothed things over, but I told you what happened with the Mustang and me. We got in a fight about how we were going to disperse the funds. Who was going to get $1 million? Like I said, I have to give $1 million to anybody that's on the show at least. Lubie's got to get like 10, and she's like, Lubie, what did he do? I'm like, so what? I give him 5. What's the difference? We're still going to have like $600 million. What are you talking about? And we're arguing about this. So we went to sleep that night without speaking to each other. After a while, I just had to drop out of the conversation. It's like it became offensive. It really did. But obviously, we were never going to have this money. So it was kind of a mood argument. All right, what do you think about the Dolphin game?
I'll tell you what,
we
man,
talked about it a lot this week. Very exciting. I mean, that electrifying offense is nice.
They are fun to watch, and they're never out of a game. I mean, they just are never out of the game. And I give all the credit to Coach McDaniel, man. I'll tell you what, he has brought Tua along. He and Tua just needed him. And Tua's not doing anything extraordinary, but he's playing within himself. He's accurate. And he's got speedsters on the corners there that are just Tyreek Hill is what a deal to get him.
Is that the best ever trade acquisition the Dolphins have had?
It might be. Listen, I thought the 2 best trades Miami had ever made were not. They didn't trade to get Jake, but I thought getting Jake Scott but to get Paul Warfield to me was
Warfield was big. Yes,
was incredible.
Who did they give up for Warfield? I mean, a couple of
what? I do forget who they gave up, but
probably
that was
draft picks.
To me that was the difference maker. And then getting Jake back there, but I'll tell you what, Tyreek Hill, he has been, and they're using him. They're not just bringing him in and they're using him, and he's leading the league, and he's fun to watch, and he does his backflips at the end, and the people love him, and they go out in free agency and get a big old guy they needed. They're fun they're exciting. They're relevant. They have not been relevant at all. And I think they're relevant. And I love watching McDaniel on the sideline. He's a whole different approach to the game. And he doesn't panic. And this team believes in itself. It really does. It's great to watch. It really is.
It's entertaining again. I mean, you look. There was a long period of time there that out of drudgery and obligation, I used to turn on these Dolphin games.
I felt guilty if I wasn't watching because it was everything I did it for so long. Right. I felt guilty if I wasn't paying attention.
Well, but you're going to talk about games. You probably should see them. It always helps.
But it was like, oh God, this is worse than this is drudgery.
It was hard to give up a Sunday afternoon and glorious sunshine here in South Florida to watch what essentially was a bunch of boring dreck that they were, putting out there on the field. And
but not anymore.
That's far from the case, man. I mean, they're a very exciting football team to watch. They are.
Yeah, I'll tell you, it's fun. It's fun to watch them, and it's fun to watch, Mahomes in Kansas City and Lamar. I mean, it's great to see Josh Allen. I mean, I'll tell you what.
I'm a little worried about Josh Allen. I mean, he's got the symptoms of the need for Tommy John.
Yeah.
Which, that ulnar collateral ligament is not a good thing for anybody that throws something for a living.
No. But we've got teams now that make it interesting and make it fun. It's not just the same old. It's not just the same old. And these young quarterbacks are dynamic. They're fun to watch. That they're good in front of the camera. These guys are they're fun. It's just the game is fun again. And I'm happy to see that. I really, really am.
All right, we want to tell people about Catholic Health Services too before we check out of here. For
you started talking about them before, and I just cannot tell you. Again, my wife is going. We love the place where my mother-in-law is, and it's not their fault. But there's always an issue going on, and when you deal with a Catholic Health Services and your loved one is there, there's never an issue going on because they're there on top of it. They understand what's going on. The family's constantly involved. Listen, folks, we get. I was telling my wife this, and I think you'll all agree with me. We watch TV today. Every commercial is telling us what's wrong with us. Every single commercial is telling us what we have, what ill we have, and what we need to do to fix it. But in order to fix it, if you take this one thing, 12 other things are going to be wrong with you because you're taking this one thing.
Oily discharge is my least favorite.
And then they tell you, you got to make an appointment to see a doctor. And then you call to make the appointment to see the doctor, and it's 6 months, 7 months, 8 months to wait to see the doctor. And then you go to see the doctor, and you're still waiting another 12 hours to go see the doctor. And you finally get to see the doctor, and then you get a diagnosis, and the doctor never calls you back to tell you what you need to do. And on and on and on and on and on and on and on. We have all these issues. Catholic Health Services, when it comes to rehab, when you really need to start getting better, they're not like that at all. They're exactly the opposite. They're in communication. They can get you in to see the doctor in case your rehab isn't going well. They're going to handle the rehab with the best expertise and the most knowledgeable therapist you can find, with doctors overseeing it, with the best equipment you can do it. But more importantly than that, they do it with a passion, and they do it with a compassion, and they do it with the family and the patient involved. And 9 out of 10 times, they get you up sooner than later and quicker than you would have ever thought. I can go on and on. You hear us talk about it. If you haven't heard it by now, then shame on you. And if we have to continue to beat you over the head with telling you how great this place is, shame on you again. Because trust us, if you ever need rehab, if you ever need that kind of facility, there's only one place to go, and that's Catholic Health Services.
And you've probably known people. I've had friends that have had strokes, and the comeback is not easy. We saw this Fetterman and how difficult it was for a very intelligent guy to just be able to express himself in circumstances where he was normally extremely comfortable. And this was several months after he suffered a stroke. So the recovery needs to be done in a correct fashion. And there are people that are very good at it and very attentive to communicating with the people that are involved. And there are many, many other services that just fall dead lame. So Catholic Health Services, really just a mensch-like organization. And the things any healthcare, you should definitely check them out.
And they what they do is they're communicative. They're constantly calling the family and telling the
big
family.
difference.
And they include the family in the rehab, so the family understand what's going on. So when the loved one gets home, the father, the son, the grandmother, the grandfather, whatever the case might be, they can help with the rehab. They can anticipate what's going on, and that's important.
Well, and it's tougher to get a call back from a doctor than it used to be to try and get a reservation at Chef Follis and expect a call back. But now that's changed. Maybe they've taken up the Catholic Health Services philosophy.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
I'd have a better shot at calling the White House.
You should run for something, Tony. I think you would have won, man. A lot of former TV personalities. Look, Memenaz essentially was a TV personality.
Yeah, Memenaz.
He got almost half the vote there in Pennsylvania, even though he doesn't live there.
He's a cartoon character, man.
Yeah, I mean, Bernie Madoff from the grave might have made a better representation of the state of Pennsylvania. All right, come back and say goodbye to Tony Segreto. Wrap things up with some final thoughts here in just a moment. Now that.
You want to take a break?
Oh, we're done?
Yeah, I mean,
all right, good. Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what, this hour flew by, and
it really did. It's crazy.
Say something. We're in such a great time of the year. I love what's going on in college football. I love what's going on in the NFL. I think it's great. The young bucks, like I just said, I think they're fun to watch, and you're looking at the older guys and going, maybe it's time you call it. Maybe it's time you hang it up. And then all of a sudden you'll see something brilliant from Rodgers or something brilliant from Brady. So everything.
Rodgers not so much. I mean,
Rodgers not so much at all. Yeah. But it's just been.
I think those mushrooms got to him. I really believe that. I do.
It's such a great time of year, and we ought to just embrace everything because it's great. And I pray for everyone in Florida with Nicole coming. We're actually going to get the remnants of Nicole this coming weekend up here in the Northeast
zipping
in New
through
England.
Vermont.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll only be rain at the time, but I know
it's not too bad. They're doing the same panic thing on the news there. Where
of course they are.
Young lady, a very usually very reliable reporter, seems very credible, and they had her out by the pier, Deerfield Pier, and she's talking about how treacherous it's going to get, and the storm surge and all of this shit. And literally, I'm looking at the ocean, and I used to always take this into consideration if I was going to go in the ocean with my wave runners. Was like I wanted it dead flat.
Yeah,
and it looked like Lake Mead, man. I mean, it was just like dead flat.
Right.
And they're trying to make this case, that they're going to be 15-foot waves. I'm like, I'm not seeing it. So stop.
So and I want to remind you, because when do you do eat in South Florida tomorrow? Is that when you do it?
What's that?
What you do? Eat in South Florida. You do
we do the Mike Mayo's lunchbox every day, 12 to 1.
Every day.
You do it
every day.
Okay,
12 o'clock every day.
Tomorrow, you tell Mr. Mayo, the eater, that tomorrow is National Vanilla Cupcake Day.
Oh, he'll love that.
National Vanilla Cupcake Day.
It's Jim Sarney's bag as to come up with that. Now, are you going to have a vanilla cupcake in honor of that?
Listen, I love cupcakes. I love muffins.
Oh, yeah?
I love muffins. I love donuts. I don't eat them all the time. I usually save Saturdays and Sundays for those days. But if tomorrow's National Vanilla Cupcake Day, I'm going to go find one.
May as well have a couple, sure.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you this. Were you the person that kind of did the toss to all of these? I know you were working with the Orange Bowl on some videos, and you said you were interviewing like Nick Saban and, all of these top coaches, Brian Kelly at LSU, and they're all talking about how great the Orange Bowl is, and they put that together in some kind of, commercial message for the OB. Did you, throw those out there to these guys? The question, like, hey, what do you think about the Orange Bowl?
I have not seen the spot, but during the interviews, I always did. So they may have taken some of that from there. But we just did it. I just finished an interview with the ACC representative, and we're about to do one the next one we're going to do is actually the coaches that we have in our game. So
did you ask? I mean, because you have to cover a lot of different circumstances.
Yeah.
Did you ask Nick how he feels about going to the Jungle Gardenia Bowl this year?
No, I did not. I have not talked to Nick since he was.
Will he abdicate the position there? And
Nick is a different guy, man.
Give it to Bowling Green or something. What do you think?
I don't know. They're going to wind up in a big bowl because they got big followers. They're going to wind up in a New Year's Six bowl somehow.
So sad to see them losing. It really is.
I always don't they play Mississippi State this weekend?
Did they play Lane Kiffin? Ole Miss, I think.
Ole Miss this weekend. Yeah. I'd love. Listen, I'm not either a fan, but I'd love to see Ole Miss kick.
We need Lane Kiffin.
I would be. That would
Nick.
be.
How great would that be?
That would be awesome.
Nick might be, inclined to, go ahead and conduct a human sacrifice if he loses to Lane Kiffin. Maybe even considering himself.
That would be. Has Nick ever lost to an assistant? I think I don't think he's ever lost.
He lost to Jimbo.
Oh, that's right. He did lose to Jimbo. How about that? He lost to Smart. Now that is a train wreck. Yeah. Texas A&M.
$50 million to fail. I mean, you gotta love it, man. That's the buyout.
Wow.
Tony, we got to run, man. It's always great.
Love you guys. Talk to you soon.
You stay cool there. I mean, it's weird to think you might get more of this hurricane than we do, but nonetheless, I'm figuring it's going to be okay here in South Florida. I don't know about you, Lubie. How do you feel about it?
We'll be fine.
We're good?
It's already turning north, and at most is a Cat 1, so I think it'll dissipate. Just be safe. Don't be stupid, and we'll be fine.
Don't do anything dumb. Take our advice here on the show, the Defo Show. All right, we'll see you later on. Now, our podcast today features author Jeff Pearlman.
Yes, he's
has
great.
A new book out, so that's on Believe Podcast. It's going to be up and loaded by about 11 o'clock.
Yep.
And he has written a book about Bo Jackson.
Yes.
Bo Jackson, the last hero here. Is Bo running for anything? He hasn't been running for anything.
I don't think so.
What would Bo think of Herschel Walker's attempt to become a U.S. Senator? Man. All right, so that's at 11 o'clock. And then 12 o'clock today, we will have Mike Mayo's Lunchbox. And once again, the great Mike Mayo will be joining us and talking about food and drink. And I almost forwarded the confirmation of my reservation at Chef Ola's. I don't think Mike's ever eaten there, though. So I don't know that he can appreciate the level of, who was a big fan of Chef Ola's? Tommy Hutton.
Okay.
Had been there many times because he knew some guys that were in the construction business there and just happened to have the contract to do the interiors for all hotels with no competition ever on the bids. And, of course, where would they take them? Chef Ola's, right? Who do you know here? That kind of thing. Not that it's a mafia stronghold, but, there have been suggestions of that type over the years. In existence over 100 years. That's testimony to a good restaurant. All right, we'll see you later on today, a couple of times. 11 o'clock on Believe Podcasts, and then 12 o'clock with Mike Mayo's Lunchbox as we leave you know that.
The time.
How many people are you going to be? It's 9:04.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.